Hi friends, welcome back to Whiskey and Wit. I'm Whitney, and today's video is going to be 3 Dollar Tree DIYs that are all buffalo check theme for the spring. You guys loved when I did the buffalo plaid heart for Valentine's Day, and so I wanted to bring that back and give you 3 different options you can incorporate into your home for spring. So stay tuned. Up first is this egg and carrot hanging banner that I am using right now in my guest bathroom downstairs in my house. So what you need for this project are 2 packages of the carrot decor, some jute twine, and this Easter hanging sign with the eggs. So step 1 is to peel the eggs off, and then you can either keep or discard that top part with the rabbit. Grab some Waverly chalk paint. I will link down below where you can get that. It's available at Walmart, or you can order it on Amazon Prime. And then I made sure to give each of the different eggs a full coat of white paint, let it dry, and then did a second coat. Once 2 coats of the Waverly chalk paint is dry, I grabbed my 3M blue painter's tape and I started to tape my lines for the buffalo plaid or check, whatever you want to call it. And the first one I started straight down the center, and then this is the same technique I used before, but I have a little piece of painter's tape that I use as a guide to really space out my lines so I know everything's even. So I put that down, and then I put an additional piece of tape to start doing my vertical lines. Do the same thing on the left side of that piece, and you're gonna have 2 to 3 verticals if you use the 1-inch tape like I'm using. If you use thicker tape, you're obviously going to have less, but I do like for the size these really small checks. So then I did the same thing for the other 4 eggs. I just made sure to start in a different spot so the buffalo check looked more random than like it was the same on every egg. Then I poured some of that white Waverly chalk paint onto a plate, and then I added some black paint, and the color I use is ink. I also got this at Walmart, but I will link it down below. And you want to mix a fairly light gray, but you want it to be a vibrant gray, so more white than black. I would probably say 3 parts white to 1 part black. Once you paint those, then I added a little bit more of the white to lighten up the gray. Peel everything off and then repeat the same step horizontally with the tape, with the spacing like we just did. And then once those are dry, do not remove that set of tape. You're going to leave it on, but you're going to re-add the tape. So I typically will reuse the tape, especially if I'm doing multiple projects. So keep that in mind. You can definitely reuse the tape. Just make sure it's stuck down fully so you don't get paint under the seams. But you're going to stick that paint right back where you had it for the original one. And if you're unsure, you want it to go back over where there's white. If you're unsure, make sure to peel up the edge just slightly of what's already down so that you could tell. And then you're going to peel off everything so that it is revealed. And this is literally my favorite part about making buffalo check. So then I let everything dry overnight just so nothing smudged, and I made sure everything was dry. Then I grabbed a drill and used approximately a drill bit that I thought would work for the jute twine that I had to fit through. I went through the front and made 2 holes, and the 2 holes, you could do just 1, but I like the 2 because you can go in and out, so then it's going to lay more flat when you go to put it on the wall. Another thing that you're probably going to need to do is go from the back and then also use that rocking motion to really open up the holes so you're not fighting the jute twine. Then I took 5 of the carrots, so they're 4 packs, so that's why you need the second pack. You can obviously add as many or little carrots as you want. Then I took some pieces of jute twine, probably about 6 inches, and double knotted them around the top. And then I tied them onto the jute twine. So I wanted to make sure that I tied them so that they could move and hang down. Because the eggs were so large, I wanted to make sure they looked proportionate. And then I went through and just did an A-B pattern through the whole thing. So carrot, egg, 5 carrots and 4 eggs. And then there you have it. It's so simple to really put together. The hardest part, honestly, is painting the buffalo plaid. And that, once you do it a few times, it's not as scary. I always hear you guys tell me that you're scared to try it, but do not be. It is not difficult once you get the hang of it. And if you're unsure where to put the tape, peel it up and slightly so you can see, and then go ahead and start sticking it back down. So if you do end up going ahead and trying that, please tag me because I would love to see your creations. Up next, we are going to do something very similar, but it's going to be on a grander scale. So just think of this egg as a larger version of those eggs we just did. So same process. I flipped the sign over that I grabbed from the Dollar Tree and gave it 2 coats of the Waverly chalk paint. Then I did the same process, except for this time you're going to have multiple vertical and horizontal stripes, more than you did on the smaller eggs just because it's larger. Make sure you're lining things up and pushing down the painter's tape so you don't have any bubbles. And then you're going to take that same gray mixture you did the first time on those eggs, go through, make sure everything is covered. And then go ahead and let that dry. You're going to repeat with the horizontal step, and unfortunately I lost that footage, but it's going to be exactly the same as what you did with the eggs for the banner. Then once that's dry, go through and replace the tape. Reuse some of the tape there like I told you to do before, especially because you can use a lot of painter's tape with these projects. Then went through with the ink Waverly chalk paint to paint the squares, and this one was so fun to peel off. It is such an amazing reveal with buffalo check, and I loved how it turned out. So then I grabbed that bunny happy Easter sign, I removed the carrots and the bow on the head as well as the hanger, and I just hot glued it onto the center of the egg. I really liked the rustic vibe, the way that it was colored, and it kind of gives me like a canvas vibe. Then I took some Dollar Tree twine, added a hanger, and also some Dollar Tree ribbon to give the bunny a new bow because I wasn't really feeling the one it came with. And there you have it. This is going to replace on my door inside my IKEA wreath from where I had my All of Me Loves All of You sign. I really think I'm going to keep doing this for every season so I can swap this out. It's very affordable and super easy to keep your front door wreath the same, but keep it also festive, but in the farmhouse decor. And finally, these mason jars that are buffalo check painted. Now, these you can totally tape, but I did more of a freehand version, and I really like how it looks rustic and handmade. So I grabbed 2 different sizes of jars from the Dollar Tree, and then I first started by covering them both fully with 2 coats of the Waverly chalk paint. I typically have used foam brushes for my paint, but I bought these regular paint brushes at the Dollar Tree, and the coverage is so much better. So if you're painting with chalk paint and those foam brushes, definitely try out a regular brush from the Dollar Tree. The cost is pretty comparable, and it does so much better in the coverage department. The next thing I did was took one of those brushes and marked out the initial vertical stripes. It's the same concept as what we did with the signs. We're just freehanding more so than we are doing the taping. So both at the top and the bottom, I gave myself guide rails on both of the containers. And then I went through with that same second gray color, the darker of the two, and started painting. I used the tip of the brush, and you may need a couple of these if it gets dull from using it a few times, but I went through and drew some lines, and then I just colored in the lines. I didn't worry too much about the lip where the lid was, just because I was going to cover that with black later, so I didn't worry too much about it, but I just went through and freehanded it based on what I had marked and did my vertical stripes. Once you let that dry, then I went through and did the same thing for the horizontal stripes, going around figuring out where I wanted the stripes to be and giving myself marks that easily are covered by the paint, but then it gives you kind of guide rails to go by. So I ended up doing one strip along the center, and then I also followed up with doing a smaller strip around the top where the lid would go, and then also around the bottom. Once those were dry, I went through and hit everywhere that the two gray colors overlapped and drew in the black squares. If you look at a traditional buffalo plaid or buffalo check pattern, that's where the black is going to be, so you want to go through and just kind of draw those in. Now some of these, if I had a smaller brush, I probably would have done that route if I would have had it. I didn't really have one on hand, which is no big deal. I really do like the rustic look of this, but if you're going to be more of an OCD, have to be inside the lines, I would tape this. But you may want to spray paint the white on the initial coat so it doesn't come off with the tape. So that might be a pro tip to keep in mind. Once I let that dry overnight, I went through on the ball mason jar and used some sandpaper to rough up the raised edges. That really just helped make it look a little bit more rustic and also gave it the ability to pop those mason jar elements. The other one was super flat, so I didn't have to worry about that, but I really liked to kind of rough that up. Then I took some of these greenery sprigs I grabbed at the Dollar Tree and I chopped them to go into the smaller container just because the end of the sprig was way too long to fit in there right if you didn't cut them down. And then I finished off the top area where I painted black with some jute twine. I repeated the exact same thing with the larger vase, but I did just cut off the tags with this one and the little pink pieces because it didn't really fit my decor. I liked more of the purple and green, and I did the same thing with this little one. So I love how these turned out. Like I said, if you are an OCD person and you want all the lines to be clean, definitely don't freehand it. But I like how it gives you kind of a rough, rustic, hand-painted look. And this is perfect for spring and beyond. You can definitely change out the flowers, greenery, etc. and you could use it year-round. So there you have it, 3 buffalo check inspired Dollar Tree DIYs that will get you ready for spring. I hope this helped ease some of your fears around doing buffalo check at home on your own. If you do recreate these, please tag me on either Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, wherever you are on social media. I love to see you guys recreate my projects. Be sure to hit subscribe down below so you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!